Schools Board of Education. I will call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. A reminder, while this is a meeting open to the public, it's for the purpose of conducting district business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There will be opportunity for citizens to address the board on agenda item 4. If you have not done so, please make sure Stephanie has your form. Stephanie, can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Burke? Here. Mr. Pierce?
Here.
Mrs. Vicky? Here. Mrs. Ross-Metzler?
Here.
Mrs. Jones? Here. Mr. Welch?
Here.
And Mrs. Gould? Here. All present.
And can we please stand for the pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on to item 4, citizens' request to address the board. It is an opportunity for the public to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items. All comments or concerns are to be directed to the board and limited to 3 minutes. Mrs. Jones will keep time and raise her hand at 30 seconds left. Please be advised, this is not an opportunity to converse in two-way communication, but for the board to hear comments and concerns. If warranted, the school administration may respond at or before the next regular Board of Education meeting. Please state your name and address when you begin. Stephanie will begin.
I'm still Stephanie Tobolani. I still live at 409 2nd Street in Fenton. I've been a resident since 1992. After the last meeting, I became aware of a letter that was sent out. And in a nutshell, the letter states that the union rep, I don't recall her name, had recommended that the teachers, or had said the teachers should quit wearing the badge. The letter mentions that. However, in my opinion, there's a significant lie of omission because it does not mention the board's action afterwards, where there was a vote and the board voted to keep the badge. So I'm very concerned that we have an administrator that's not truthful and transparent. My opinion is she should resign. There also are a couple of board members that I feel should resign because they laugh, they roll their eyes, they're very inappropriate towards the parents. But main reason is very dishonest in your reason for running. There was no disclosure of political party, that type of thing, which I find offensive. School is school, politics is politics. Politics should not be brought into our school system, and it has been, and look what's happened. I have never seen Fenton so divided since 1992, never. It's going to need strong leadership, which I do not believe we have right now, to get the community back together so we can work together as one. I will tell you flat out right now, no one in my family will vote affirmatively for anything this school puts out. Any bonds, I will vote down anything you want. I promise you, I've been voting for years now. Myself and my family will be there and we will vote you down until we see some type of appropriate behavior that enjoins the community together like we used to be until this hot mess started. Thank you.
Susan Temple.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Susan Temple, and I've been a resident of the city of Fenton for 30 years. My 2 boys attended St. John Catholic School from K through 8, and then attended Fenton High School, with the oldest graduating in 2017, and my youngest just graduating last year. I want to address the equality badges that the teachers in the entire Fenton School District have been wearing. I understand that after last board meeting, the teachers were told that they didn't have to wear them. They were recommended not to, but I understand a lot of them still are. So first, let's set aside the fact that these badges, I believe, are purely political in nature, as even Ms. Jewell addressed at the last board meeting. Let's set aside the fact that these badges are sexual in nature, and no one has a right to discuss anything sexual in nature without the consent of a parent or a guardian. Let's also set aside the fact that these equality badges are in no way equal to every Fenton High School student. A majority of the students in the district are not even represented on these equality badges. What I want to address now is the safety of our students. I believe the student safety is in jeopardy. These badges were promoted as safe, and any student should feel free to talk openly and freely with anyone that's wearing one. Well, somehow, I got an equality badge. How did that happen? I don't think I'm supposed to have one. I'm certainly not a teacher. But now, and forgive the rudimentary of this, I made it at 4:10 because I found out about the meeting. Now I have a lanyard, right? Let's make this an official lanyard. So this must make me a super safe person that anyone, any student can come and talk to. Well, that's not true, right? I'm not a teacher. I'm a nice person, right? I'm a nice person that has this badge. But as some of you can attest to, as our kids have played baseball or even hockey together, I'm a nice person. But if I can make these, then be damn sure that a person with bad intent can replicate these to make them even more official. My father was a homicide detective in Flint, and there were many, many times he had to go to a crime scene where children were involved. If you don't think that a predator could lure a child away with one of these badges, then you are tremendously naive. I'm asking the board to make two motions. One, for the immediate suspension of the badge as they are extremely dangerous to the welfare of our children. And secondly, a motion to mandate all Fenton school teachers to tell their students that these badges are compromised. If you have to write a script, I suggest a script that each teacher would follow to make it specific, because if you don't mandate it, I don't think each teacher would do it.
That's time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
And I don't want any part of these badges.
Jannette R.
Hi, my name's Jannette. I live in Fenton. I'm just going to vary a little bit from my comment and say how much I agree with the last speaker. You guys are all educators. You know what predators do. You know how they prey on children. What are they looking for? Opportunities to prey on children. You think they're not out there looking at communities like Fenton where they can go buy a badge in a store and put it on and say, "Come here, little kid, I'm safe." That's what they do. And so these badges now are being sold. They are, Heidi, they're being sold. I saw you raise your eyebrows. If you don't believe me, ask the Fenton Pride Group. They're selling them. Anybody can buy them. That includes a predator, that includes somebody who, human trafficking rings. And if that happens, then a board that will not put out the statement like she said and give a warning to say that these are dangerous, get them off the street and stop wearing them, then you all will have that on your hands of those kids being abducted or whatever. I'll go to my second comment. I may not have time to finish, but also someone talked about the letter that was sent out by the superintendent. It was crazy because all of a sudden this letter comes out talking about badges. The parents didn't even know about badges before, except for a few people that had found out about it. And then the fact that, and what happened, for those that don't know, the FEA president asked their members to stop wearing the equality badge at the last meeting. Several people got up, public comments, and asked you, the board, to solidify that decision, make it official. And so a board member made a motion to stop using the badge in all schools today. And the board voted against that motion. So essentially told the teachers to keep wearing it. Then the letter from Heidi was sent out, the superintendent. She talked about the badges. Now how confusing would that be for the parents that never heard about them before? This to me is also, as the speaker said before, is lying by omission. You did not let parents know that the board voted against suspending them. Many people thought the badge issue was over, and we know it's not over because they're still wearing the badges in schools and they're selling them on the street. So I see that my time is up, but Heidi, I'm asking you to set the record straight. You need to acknowledge that you were wrong in the first place for not letting people know about the badges. You lied to the people when you said you weren't responsible for printing or paying for the badges. We presented a receipt, shows exactly where it came from. And then please tell us, who is determining what teachers do? You, the superintendent, the board, or the FEA? Who determines that?
Hi, I'm Laurie Adams, and I've been a resident of Fenton forever. I have 2 kids who went through the Fenton school system. I have 2 grandkids who are still in the Fenton school system right now. However, I'm very, very sad to say that they're considering leaving over this issue. That just breaks my heart. Breaks my heart. Like, you don't understand. The reason why I'm up here right now is because, I spoke at the last meeting, and, I investigated like policy after policy that said this was against what you guys should be doing, okay? Because it is a political issue. Because, the origin is from the NEA LGBTQ plus caucus. A caucus is a political movement. They are the ones who invented the flag. They are the ones who presented it to the NEA and MEA. That is a political movement, okay? So you can't say it's not political. It is. You can say all you want to, but it is. Now, my question is, like many of you guys have stated up here, is that there are teachers who are still wearing the badge. I understand it's not a mandate. I understand she asked them to, not the president of FEA asked them not to, and there are still people who are. But my big concern is, I've also heard multiple people say there are parent volunteers wearing them, whether it be a t-shirt or a badge, while they're working in the classrooms. We haven't even addressed that. Do you guys have policies in place for that? I understand, and I know for a fact that there have been kids who have worn shirts to the high school, like a MAGA shirt or anything like that, and they are told to turn them inside out, they can't wear them. Or if they have a hat, they're not allowed to wear them. But yet you're gonna let a parent volunteer and a teacher wear something that is a political movement also? I don't understand. And I would love to understand. And I just don't feel like, I really feel like there isn't any communication from the board. I don't understand it. I feel like you guys are just set and you're not gonna change. And that's not okay for a board when a public is coming out and talking. I was, till this year, a proud member of the MEA and my union. This year I quit. It scares me to death, but I quit. Still being a teacher, and I quit. But I still get their online things. And there was on the MEA online thing, there was a big report about the Fenton meeting, not the last one, but the one before, about how, there's just a small group that's against the badge. But guess what? There was nothing in there about the last meeting. There is a large group. It's a big group. I just think you should really listen. Thank you.
We do not have any administrative reports for this meeting, so we can move to action items. Our first action item, we need to look at our last regular board meeting, we had a presentation about the stormwater management plan. So Superintendent Sisowski.
Yes, if you'll remember, we had our environmental company, Arch Environmental, come out and present to you guys. What has happened is the county used to nest school districts underneath stormwater retention, and the county has stopped doing that as a part of a county kind of service. It has now required school districts to start paying for that service. We use Arch a little bit for some of our environmental stuff, and so when we talked to Arch about, is this something that you can do, apply for permits, make sure our stormwater retention, all of those things can be done under you as a kind of a third party. And they said, absolutely, that's something we do. It's actually a cost savings to go with Arch instead of paying the fee that the county is actually offering. So I highly recommend that we adopt the stormwater management plan that Arch presented in the last meeting, and continue to work with them for our kind of stormwater management plan, which is something we have to have as a public entity.
Any questions for Superintendent Soselski? So our recommended action is to have a resolution to support the stormwater management plan between Fenton Area Public Schools and Arch Environmental as presented. Do I have a resolution?
So resolved.
Anyone support?
Support.
Any discussion? Okay, since it is a resolution, we need a roll call vote. Stephanie?
Mrs. Pearl? Yes. Mr. Pierce?
Yes.
Mrs. Vicky?
Yes.
Mrs. Rossmansler?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
And Mrs. Jewell? Yes. On this vote.
Resolution carries. Okay, so this is the part of the second half of this special meeting. Now we get to vote on all of the candidates we heard about. So, just a reminder, the election is scheduled for Monday, June 5th at 5 o'clock. We had the discussion of the candidates in our 4:30 special meeting, and we need to vote for 2 candidates for the 6-year seat, 1 candidate for the partial 4-year seat, and 1 candidate for the partial 2-year seat. Okay, so we'll start with the 6-year seat. And as a reminder, I'll pull that up just to remind you who we have. We have Janice Bugby, who is an incumbent, Richard Hill, who is an incumbent, Sherry Martin, and Heather Mitchell. Those are the 4 candidates. Do I have any nominations at this point?
So I'll resolve to nominate Richard Hill and Janice Buckby for the 6-year term.
Support. So we have a nomination and support. Do we have any other nominations? Okay, and I have to call for 3 times. So any other nominations for the 2 6-year terms? We have a nomination on the table for Richard Hill and Janice Bugby. Okay, any discussion? All right, so Stephanie, can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Pearl? Yes. Mr. Pierce?
Yes.
Mrs. Vicky?
Yes.
Mrs. Rossmansler?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Welch? And Mrs. Jewell?
Yes.
All yes vote.
All right, so Richard Hill and Janice Bugby will be our vote that goes to the election on June 5th. Okay, so the 4-year partial term. We have Salvatore Osceola, who's the incumbent, and Nancy DeConch. Do we have resolve for a nomination for the 4-year partial?
I resolve to nominate Salvatore Osceola for the partial 4-year term.
We have a nomination for Salvatore Osceola. Do we have support?
Support.
Okay, we have a nomination in support for Salvatore Osceola. Do we have any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay, so we have a nomination in support for Osceola, or Salvatore Osceola. Stephanie, can I get, or any discussion? Okay, Stephanie, can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Pierce?
Yes.
Mrs. Vicky?
Yes.
Mrs. Rossmansler?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
And Mrs. Jewell?
Yes.
All yes votes.
Okay, so Salvatore Osceola will be the vote that we send on June 5th. And the last one is the 2-year partial term. We have Brooke Boyer or Desiree Dubron. And Desiree is the incumbent on this one. Do we have a resolve for a nomination?
I resolve to nominate Desiree Gibran for the partial 2-year term.
Okay, we have a nomination. Do we have support? We have a nomination and support for Desiree Dubron. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any discussion? Okay, Stephanie, can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Pierce?
Yes.
Mrs. Vicky?
Yes.
Mrs. Rossmansler?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
And Mrs. Jewell.
Oh, yes, all right. All right, I know this is gonna seem repetitive, but this is how they need us to finalize our vote. We, need a final resolution to nominate Richard Hill and Janice Bugby for the 6-year term, Salvatore Osceola for the 4-year partial term, and Desiree Joubran for the partial 2-year term.
I'll take it. I resolve to nominate Janice Bugby and Richard Hill for the 6-year term, nominate Salvatore Osceola for the 4-year partial term, and resolve to nominate Desiree Joubran for the 2-year partial term.
Support. Okay, we have a resolution and support for Richard Hill, Janice Bugby for 6 years, Salvatore Osceola for the partial 4-year, and Desiree Joubran for the partial 2-year. Any discussion before our final vote? All right, Stephanie, can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Pearl? Yes. Mr. Pierce?
Yes.
Mrs. Vicky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ross Messley?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
And Mrs. Jewell?
Yes.
All yes votes. Motion carried.
All right. Do we have any other things for the good of the group before we adjourn?
Just a quick question on the process. So now these get sent over by our office? I don't
So-
physically carry anything with me, right?
So in the past, we were able to email them over. Now they actually want it in a sealed envelope.
Okay.
So you will
Okay, so
actually be, yep, so
Okay.
Stephanie.
Actually, I'll
Stephanie's
be going to the ISD Thursday, so I was gonna take it so you wouldn't have to go early because they're
Oh.
due by 4 PM.
Okay,
So I'll take care of the hand delivery.
okay, thanks,
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn this special meeting?
So moved.
Support?
All right, I have a motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting adjourned at 5:22 p.m.